Chapter 1 System Activation. Maximus gazed into the mirror, trying to come to terms with the fact that he had transmigrated into a new body in a world of fantasy. However, he was fortunate enough to be born into a noble family as the son of a count. Their territory was the largest in the kingdom, but most of it was barren land without mineral resources or arable land. But his good fortune was short-lived, as he was forced to confront the harsh reality of his new life. The memories flooded his mind as he remembered the attack by the cultists that had taken the lives of his parents. His father, a Tier 3 Earth Knight, had fought valiantly to protect his mother and him, but he ended up dead in the end with his mother. Fortunately, he had been rescued by the guards and managed to survive, but his parents had not been so lucky. They had failed to wait for the rescue that could have saved their lives, and the burden of their loss now weighed heavily on Maximus's shoulders. Maximus found himself in a world where gods and extraordinary power existed. It was a daunting thought, and he couldn't help but feel like a weakling in the face of all this power. At 19 years old, he was already an adult, but he was still only an apprentice magician and had not even entered the official ranks yet. The knowledge that there were beings more powerful than him was overwhelming. As he was reminiscing on his thoughts, a new change caught his attention. A blue screen appeared in front of him, with the words "Family and Power System" activating. After a while, the whole thing loaded up, coupled with information about the system. System initialized. User, Maximus Shadowcrest. Strength, Tier 0, Apprentice Mage Level 5, 3/16. Potential, Rank 0, Trash 0/1. Wife 0. Children 0. Gold 0. Mul. The system was about building his family and making more children. The function was simple: after every wife he had, he would receive gold points every day depending on their strength, and having children would give him potential points every day that he could use to upgrade his potential. There was also a mall system where he could spend the gold points he obtained. He was surprised to see a wide array of items available, including magical tools, rare artifacts, arrays, and runes. There was everything he could think of, from the most basic one to the most esoteric knowledge, and there is even basic materials for living like food, raw minerals, all kinds of wood, and such. As he checked his system, there was a knock on the door. "Young master, are you all right?" The steward of their manor, Gerald, came in. Gerald was the one who took care of everything in this castle. "I'm fine, how is everything?" Maximus asked. There was chaos in the city, but it was quickly suppressed by the guards, and the cultists who attacked you and your parents had escaped after the guard rescued you, Gerald replied. "So it is all right, you can leave me here to think this through," Maximus said. Gerald hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Young master, I am truly sorry for the loss of your parents. They were both brave and loyal to the end." Maximus nodded silently, still in the process of accepting his new status. "As for the future, please know that I will do everything in my power to support you in your new role as the Count of Shadowcrest," Gerald continued, his voice full of concern. Maximus appreciated his butler's care and concern. "Thank you, Gerald. I know I can count on you," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Gerald bowed respectfully and left the room, leaving Maximus alone to process his thoughts and emotions. After Gerald left, Maximus started to think about his situation. With this system, he could gain more power as he built his family, but he needed to start somewhere. He was but a weak chicken, but he knew he had to be stronger to protect his family and territory from any danger that may arise. Maximus inherited the position of count from his father and had access to more resources than most people. However, arranging a marriage with the nobles was complicated, and being poor, no one would seek him out. Despite being a count, the land he inherited was somewhat barren. This was because his grandfather had acquired the title of a baron by using his strength in war, and he was given this land as a result. But when his grandfather was promoted to count, the previous king had already passed away. So when he was promoted to a count, the new king, not wanting to see an old remnant rise, just circled the map to make the scope of the territory bigger. But those were just wastelands without any value. Maximus continued to explore his new system, browsing through the mall to see what he could purchase with his gold points. As he scrolled through the categories, he stumbled upon the section on books. He clicked on the section and a new window popped up. There he first saw books about basic knowledge in the etherealium realm, alchemy, basic spells, basic runes, meditation methods, forbidden magic, and many more. Maximus spent hours browsing through his system, taking notes, and making plans for his future. He noted that everything is expensive, and based on the conversation, 1 gold point is equal to 1 gold coin. After a while, he closed his system and went to explore his new home. The castle was huge, with dozens of rooms and corridors that he had yet to explore. He wandered around, marveling at the luxurious decorations and intricate designs. As he walked, he met some of the servants and guards of the castle. They greeted him respectfully, but he could sense a hint of fear and uncertainty in their eyes. He knew he needed to earn their trust and prove himself as a capable ruler. The next day, Maximus went to the meeting hall and was greeted by a group of officials, including the magistrate and the head of the guards. "Welcome, young Count Maximus. We are deeply sorry for your loss," the old officials said, offering their condolences. Maximus nodded. "Thank you for your kind words. However, I am here today to discuss some pressing matters regarding the state of the city and our territory." The officials looked at him expectantly, waiting for him to continue. "As you all know, my parents were killed in an attack by cultists on our way back to the territory. I am now the head of our noble family and must manage our territory and ensure our people's safety and well-being." The officials nodded in understanding, knowing that the young count had a lot on his plate. "Unfortunately, we are facing several problems that need to be addressed immediately. Firstly, our city is facing a severe shortage of food. The barren land in our territory makes it difficult to grow crops, and we have been relying on imports from other regions. However, with the recent deaths of the Count and the resulting chaos, the supply chain has been disrupted and our people are going hungry." The head of the guards spoke up. "Not only that, but we have also been facing a rise in crime and banditry. After the death of the previous Count, the outlaws and thieves become more daring, causing more trouble than before." Maximus sighed. "I understand. We have a lot of work to do. But we must act quickly and decisively. I will be working closely with all of you to quickly find solutions to these problems and ensure the safety and well-being of our people." The officials nodded in agreement, and the meeting continued as they discussed plans and strategies to tackle the various issues plaguing the city. Maximus felt a sense of confusion and uncertainty as he left the meeting, knowing that he had a lot of work ahead of him. After taking over the management of his territory, Maximus quickly realized that many issues needed to be addressed. The lack of food and the security of the citizens were just some of the problems that he had to solve. Maximus quickly coordinated with the local officials to arrange for the citizens to be more orderly and for the guards to patrol the streets more frequently at night. However, the lack of food was a major concern. Maximus knew that he had to find a solution quickly. He decided to quickly convert some gold coins to buy cheap foods in the system and pretend to open his emergency granary so the official will not doubt where he got the food. After all, it was common for noble to store large amount of food in case of emergency. He knew that this would not be a long-term solution, but it would help in the short term. More than a week passed of Maximus dealing with the city's issues. As Maximus strolled through the city, he remembered the criteria of the system for choosing a partner. The system is quite demanding, requiring a fit value of more than 90 points to activate the function of the system. The system he possessed could scan people and show their status, but so far, he hasn't found anyone with a fit value of at least 90. If he could only settle for less, he could become the father and the husband of the world. By then he would be God the next day. Searching the city while walking, the people greeted him as he greeted them back. After a week, the food shortage was quickly plunged with money, which quickly solved the problem. Regarding security, the situation is still being resolved, but there has been a slight improvement. After hours of strolling, he returned to the castle feeling dejected. The highest fit value he had found was only 83, and what he needed is at least a 90. Maximus found Gerald in his study, reviewing reports and documents. They exchanged pleasantries and talked about the various events that had taken place in the past week. They discussed the progress of the city's reconstruction efforts and the improvement of the living conditions of the citizens. As they talked, an idea suddenly struck Maximus. He thought about using the network to assist him in his search. "Gerald, as you know, I am the only heir to our noble household. If something were to happen to me, our territory would be left without an heir. Therefore, I have decided to take action to select the future mistress of the house." Maximus explained to his butler in a calm and measured tone. Gerald was surprised by his master's sudden decision, but he listened attentively as Maximus explained his plan. He understood the importance of having an heir for the noble household, especially now that Maximus was the only remaining member of his family. "That is a wise decision. Which noble house do you think is suitable, young master?" Gerald asked. For now just send an invitation to see if anyone is willing. Before that, however, look for our territory to look for mistresses to quickly fill the harem." Maximus replied, somewhat blushing. "Oh, yes, young master, I will arrange it immediately," Gerald replied, feeling that his young master is already at that age. Maximus nodded, satisfied with the outcome of their conversation. With that, Maximus and Gerald parted ways, each with their thoughts and concerns. In the coming days, Maximus was presented with a list of candidates that scour through the city, each with their unique qualities and skills. He carefully reviewed the list of candidates, taking note of very important details. After a thorough assessment, he held a personal interview with each of them. As he interviewed each candidate, he found that most of them had a comprehensive score of above 80, which was impressive. However, there was only one candidate who caught his attention. It was Hazel, a daughter of a farmer. With a light brown hair color and perfectly shaped body curves. She had a fair complexion, her skin was also slightly tanned due to her work on the farm. Which is just his type, no wonder the fit is more than 90. Name: Hazel. Strength: Tier 0. Potential: Rank 0. Fit: 91. After interviewing all the candidates, Maximus ended the selection. Before he got up to his seat, the door opened. Coming in was Gerald. "Young master, I got a letter from Baron Francis," Gerald said as he handed the letter. Baron Francis was just a newly promoted noble and didn't have a territory. Which is why he needed a marriage alliance. Erica, the daughter of Baron Francis, sat anxiously in the carriage on her way to meet her betrothed, Maximus. She had heard little about him and knew nothing of his personality, likes or dislikes. Her heart raced with nerves as she anticipated what type of person he is. As they approached the city, they were greeted by the guards of Count Maximus. They escorted the carriage through the winding streets, which were bustling with activity. Erica peered out of the carriage window, taking in the sights and sounds of this new place. She felt out of place and overwhelmed. When they finally arrived at Maximus' castle, Erica was very nervous. She stepped out of the carriage, her heart pounding with anticipation. As she entered the castle, she was met by Maximus himself. He was tall and handsome, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to gaze straight into her soul. Erica felt herself blush as she looked at him. Name: Erica. Strength: Tier 0. Potential: Rank 0. Fit: 93. Maximus was captivated by Erica's beauty, and he couldn't help but feel drawn to her. As they began to talk, they got to know each other. Erica realized that Maximus was not at all like she had imagined. He was kind, gentle, and intelligent, with a great sense of humor. Erica found herself opening up to him, sharing stories and laughter. The wedding ceremony was somewhat grand, with guests from merchants in the city and Baron Francis and his friends. Maximus was dressed in his finest attire, a regal outfit befitting of a nobleman of his stature. Erica and Hazel were also wearing stunning gowns, with their long hair pulled back into an elegant braid. After the ceremony, the guests were treated to a lavish feast, with food and wine aplenty. The system beeped as Maximus woke up, reminding him of the daily gold point output from his successful marriages with Erica and Hazel. He smiled, pleased with the steady income. After completing his daily routine, Maximus headed to the mall to browse through the categories of meditation methods. Arcane Attunement, a technique that focuses on harnessing magical energy and using it to strengthen one's mental abilities. Chapter 1, Price 60. Dream weaving involves using lucid dreaming and visualization to access the subconscious mind and promote personal growth. Chapter 1, Price 50. Elemental embodiment, a method that involves connecting with the elements of nature to cultivate inner harmony and balance. Chapter 1, Price 30. Mind fire meditation, a technique that focuses on harnessing the power of one's inner fire to cultivate mental focus and clarity. Chapter 1, Price 20. Shadow self-integration involves exploring and integrating one's shadow self to achieve greater self-awareness and emotional balance. Chapter 1, Price 30. Celestial consciousness, a method that involves transforming your consciousness to gain insight and wisdom of a god. Chapter 1, Price 100. Dragon's breath, a technique that involves harnessing the power of the mythical dragon to cultivate strength and resilience. Chapter 1, Price 90. Thunderous transcendence, focuses on harnessing the power of thunder to cultivate mental focus and clarity. Chapter 1, Price 70. After researching various meditation techniques, he chose celestial consciousness, which was not only one of the most expensive but also highly attuned in this world. However, just the chapter 1 cost 100 gold points, which is out of his budget. After all, his money was used to plug the food shortage of the city. You know, 1 gold coin was enough to feed a family for a few years. In terms of currency, 1 gold coin was equivalent to 100 silver coins and 10,000 copper. And his treasury only amounted to a few hundred gold coins which he used for the city's food. Fortunately, the system could generate 2 gold points which are equivalent to gold coins. In just a few days he could buy the meditation method. A month passed, and the relationship between Maximus and his wives continued to grow stronger. Although they were not yet pregnant, they enjoyed each other's company and intimacy. After Maximus used celestial consciousness, despite his trash talent, it helped him quickly gain strength and become an apprentice magician level 8. As for the city, it was becoming more orderly and prosperous. The food in his emergency granary was running low, and he couldn't think of a suitable reason to buy more food from the system. So, he took about a variety of high-yielding crops, which can quickly grow and make the city self-sufficient. Before that, however, once the food in the granary was consumed, he would buy food from other cities, even if it was more expensive. He couldn't afford to let his system be exposed without sufficient strength. Fortunately, the daily output of gold point was life-saving. As his territory have no income and the gold coins he inherited were gone with the purchase of his meditation method. He also tried to pass the meditation method to his wife, but it seemed to be restricted, requiring him to purchase another copy. With no other choice, he opted for a cheaper method called elemental breath, which cost 10 gold coins. Elemental breath, a method that involves using a breathing routine to promote personal growth and transformation of elements. Chapter 1 Price 10. A few months later. Maximus knew that a prosperous city required a strong economy, so he also invested in the development of local businesses. He offered incentives to entrepreneurs and provided them with the resources and money they needed to establish successful ventures. One of the businesses that thrived under Maximus's leadership was the food street. Thanks to the abundance of affordable crops grown using high-yielding seeds, the majority of the businesses in the area revolved around setting up food stalls. The food street quickly became a popular spot for locals and even attracted tourists from neighboring cities. Maximus also established a market for local farmers to sell their produce, providing a stable source of income for them and ensuring a steady supply of fresh crops for his citizens. As the city developed, so did Maximus's reputation. His fair and just leadership earned him the respect and admiration of his people. They trusted him to make decisions that would benefit them and ensure their safety. Meanwhile, the aroma of food was wafting through the streets as the restaurants began popping up, thanks to the earlier incentive provided to those starting businesses. Coupled with the cheap but high-quality crop seeds that had already been harvested, the city quickly integrates delicious food into its daily life. The food street and restaurants in Maximus' territory had been thriving. The aroma of various dishes wafted through the air, and the sound of sizzling ingredients filled the ears of passers-by. It was a bustling hub of activity, with people lining up outside their favorite eateries to try their delicious food. Hazel, the mistress of Count Maximus, strolled down the newly built and bustling food street. She loved coming here to try out new dishes and to feel the excitement of the busy marketplace. As she walked down the street, she stopped at one of the food vendors who was grilling meat. "That smells amazing," she said to the vendor, her mouth already watering. "Would you like to try some?" the vendor offered, holding out a skewer of tender, juicy lamb seasoned with fragrant herbs and spices. Hazel eagerly accepted the skewer and took a bite, closing her eyes as she savored the flavor. "This is delicious," she said to the vendor, who beamed with pride. "Thank you," the vendor replied, "I've been recently perfecting the recipe." Hazel continued down the street, sampling dishes from different stalls and chatting with the vendors. She stopped at a sweet shop. The sweet aroma of the shop filled her senses, and she couldn't resist the temptation to indulge in a few treats. "Welcome, miss. Would you like to try our signature pastries? They are made with only the finest ingredients and are the most popular item on our menu," said the friendly owner of the sweet shop. Hazel couldn't help but smile at the owner's enthusiasm. "Sure, I would love to try them," she replied, and the owner handed her a beautifully packaged box of little pastries. She opened the box and took a bite of the first macaron. The delicate pastry shell is way too creamy, with melt-in-your-mouth filling exploding with flavors of raspberry and rose. The creamy, velvety filling melted in her mouth, and the flaky pastry shell crumbled delicately with each bite. "These are amazing. I have never tasted anything like this before, Hazel exclaimed, feeling delighted by the delicious treat. I'm glad you like them, the sweet shop owner replied. My mother passed this recipe down to me. It's been in our family for generations. Hazel continued to explore the food street, trying dishes from different stalls and enjoying the festive atmosphere. As the sun began to set and the streetlights flickered on, she realized that she had eaten her way through the entire street. Kevin just got into the city and was enjoying his meal when he overheard two merchants sitting at a nearby table. They were discussing the current state of the city and the news of the incentive for entrepreneurs. I heard the Lord is still looking for more entrepreneurs to invest in, one of the merchants said. That's true, replied the other. I heard he's even offering tax breaks and incentives for those who bring new and innovative ideas to the city. Kevin couldn't believe his luck. He had been struggling to start his own business in his hometown, but the lack of resources and support made it nearly impossible. Now he saw a glimmer of hope in his situation. As he finished his meal, he decided to explore the food street even more. He stopped at a stall selling traditional dumplings and couldn't resist the delicious aroma coming from it. The owner, a friendly elderly woman, offered him a sample. Try one, young man, she said with a smile. I promise it will be the best dumpling you've ever had. Kevin took a bite and was immediately blown away by the flavors. This is amazing, he said with a grin. How did you make it? The woman chuckled. We use only the freshest ingredients and make everything from scratch, that's why it's so delicious. Kevin nodded in appreciation. You should consider opening a restaurant, he suggested. I'm sure it would be a huge success. The woman's eyes lit up. You think so? Maybe one day. As Kevin walked further down the street, he noticed a group of people huddled together and whispering. Curious, he approached them and asked what was going on. One of the men said, the store is starting to sell the rare spice that is good for men. I heard the city lord got this rare seed and was lucky enough to cultivate it. Kevin was intrigued, he never knew what spice it is to be beneficial for men. He asked someone where he could find the store and he was directed to a nearby spice shop. As he entered the shop, he was hit with a wave of fragrant aromas. The shelves were lined with jars of different spices, each with a unique scent and color. The shopkeeper noticed his interest and approached him. Is there anything in particular you're looking for? The shopkeeper asked. Kevin explained that he had heard about the newly cultivated rare spice and was curious to try them. The shopkeeper smiled and brought out a small jar of dark, spiky, and earthy spice. This is the new spice that is given by Lord. It's called Dragon's Whiskers. It's a rare spice that is said to enhance one's strength and endurance at night. The shopkeeper gave him a knowing look and explained. Kevin was somewhat embarrassed but decided to purchase some anyway. As the day came to an end, Kevin made his way back to the inn where he was staying. He couldn't believe how much he had seen and experienced in just one day. He made a mental note to come back to the city and explore more to decide what business he could do. Chapter for Family Development, Official Mage. A few more months passed. Erica and Hazel were both pregnant, and the castle was buzzing with excitement as everyone prepared for the arrival of the new babies. As the city was already generating income with the influx of merchants doing business in his territory. His excess gold point was used to buy many weird gadgets that make his life more interesting. Bag of holding a small pouch with a space rune that can hold 10 cubic meters of items without adding weight. Price 5. Glamour weave dress, a magical dress that can change its color and style on command, perfect for attending formal events or blending in with a crowd. Price 1. Hairbrush of tangle-free hair, a hairbrush that can magically untangle even the most stubborn knots, making it easy to maintain beautiful hair. Price 0.5. Enchanted quill, a quill that never runs out of ink and writes with perfect penmanship, making it ideal for daily note-taking or writing letters. Price 0.1. Timepiece of efficiency, a magical wristwatch that helps the wearer manage their time effectively, providing reminders and keeping track of appointments. Price 0.5. Alchemy jug, a jug that can produce any non-magical liquid on command, including water, wine, oil, or honey. Price 3. Unfortunately, the alchemy jug can only produce a limited amount of liquid, so he can't monetize it. And liquid oil is not much used in this place, making wine more expensive. So alchemy jug was mainly for personal use. 9 months passed. As the due date approached, Maximus became increasingly nervous. He had never been present at a birth before, and he was worried that something might go wrong. Erica noticed his anxiety and did her best to reassure him. "Don't worry, it'll be fine," she said. Maximus nodded, but he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. He spent hours pacing the halls of the castle, waiting for news of the births. Finally, the big day arrived. Erica went into labor first, and Maximus was by her side throughout the entire ordeal. He held her hand and whispered words of encouragement as she pushed. After several hours of labor, Erica gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Maximus was overjoyed as he held his daughter for the first time. "She's perfect." Name: none. Strength: tier 0. Potential: rank 1 common. Hazel also went into labor a few days later, and Maximus was just as nervous as he had been with Erica. But this time he had a better idea of what to expect. He held Hazel's hand and talked to her soothingly as she went through labor. After several hours of intense pain, Hazel gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Maximus held his son in his arms, marveling at the tiny fingers and toes. "Look at him," Hazel smiled weakly and said to Maximus. "He's going to be a strong warrior, just like his father." "Let's hope he's a little more gentle," Maximus added. Name: none. Strength: tier 0. Potential: rank 1 common. The castle was filled with laughter and joy as everyone celebrated the arrival of the new babies. Maximus told the chef to prepare a feast, and the dining hall was filled with delicious smells and happy chatter. As the night wore on, Maximus and his family sat together, holding their newborn. The baby was asleep, with their little chest rising and falling with each breath. Maximus sat cross-legged on the balcony, his eyes closed as he focused on his breathing. His training has been ingrained in his daily life now, and he knew that meditation was an essential part of his practice. It helped him clear his mind and strengthen his connection to the magical energies that surrounded him. As he breathed in deeply, he felt the cool air fill his lungs, and as he exhaled, he released all the tension in his body. He repeated this process, allowing himself to sink deeper and deeper into a meditative state. Maximus could feel the magic swirling around him, like a river flowing through the air. He reached out with his mind, seeking to connect with the energies and understand them on a deeper level. He visualized himself standing in the middle of a vast ocean of magical power, and he was but a small island soaking up its power. His concentration was unbroken, and his breathing became slow and steady. He felt the magic around him growing stronger, and he knew that he was tapping into a wellspring of power that few mages could access. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Maximus opened his eyes. He had been meditating for hours, and he felt rejuvenated and refreshed. He stood up, feeling the power of the magic coursing through his veins. Standing at the top of the vast expanse of his territory, he looked at his panel. User: Maximus Shadowcrest. Strength: tier 1 official mage level 1, 1/1000. Potential: rank 2 uncommon, 3/100. Meditation: chap 1 celestial consciousness. Wife 2. Hazel. Strength: apprentice mage LVL 2. Potential: common. Meditation: chap 1 elemental breath. GP 1 * GP gold point per day. Erica Augustine. Strength: apprentice mage LVL 2. Potential: common. Meditation: chap 1 elemental breath. GP 1. Children 2. Name: Lily Shadowcrest. Strength: tier 0. Potential: common. PP 1 * potential point per day. Name: Liam Shadowcrest. Strength: tier 0. Potential: common. Pepe 1. Gold 131. Mo. It had been more than a year since he had been transported to this fantasy world, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia washing over him. He remembered the confusion and fear he felt when he first arrived, not knowing what to expect or how to survive in a world so different from his own. But now, his territory is now running smoothly, showing a trend of prosperity. He sighed and turned to go back inside the castle when he heard the sound of laughter and chatter coming from the courtyard below. Curious, he made his way down the spiral staircase and out into the courtyard. There, he saw both of his wife and their children, Lily and Liam, in the crib, playing with baby toys that Maximus had brought from the system. They were all smiling and laughing, enjoying each other's company. Maximus couldn't help but feel a warmth spread through his chest at the sight. It was moments like these that made all the hardships he suffered worth it. He walked over to join, feeling the joy and love that his family brought into his life. As they played, Maximus couldn't help but reminisce about his old life. He missed the convenience of technology, the ease of communication, and the familiarity of his surroundings. But he also knew that he wouldn't trade his current life for anything. 1 year later, Maximus sat in the nursery, watching his 2 children play. He couldn't help but marvel at how much they had grown in just 1 year. Liam was now crawling around and pulling himself up to stand, while Lily was babbling and giggling as she played with her toys. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough money to buy special potions and products to fully develop Lily and Liam so they can be full-fledged children in a year. He can only nurture them once he had enough money, making them the brightest children in the world. However, he didn't feel much guilt as he had witnessed their growth and development from tiny, helpless newborns to active and curious infants. It had been an interesting and adorable experience. Lily was a strong and lively girl, always grabbing at toys and giggling with delight. Liam, on the other hand, was more calm and reserved, often content to simply observe the world around him. Maximus couldn't help but smile as he thought of the first time he held them. They were so small and fragile, and he felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility to protect and provide for them. Maximus also made sure to spend as much time with them as possible. He would often take them on walks around the castle, pointing out the various plants and animals they encountered. Sometimes he would even bring them into his office, letting them crawl around on the floor while he worked. Erica and Hazel were also incredibly involved in the children's lives, doting on them and showering them with love and attention. They would often sing songs and play games, teaching them new words and sounds. Maximus couldn't help but feel a sense of pride as he watched his children develop. Maximus smiled as he watched them. He couldn't wait to see what kind of people they would grow up to be. As he sat there, lost in thought, he heard a soft knock on the door. Turning his head, he saw his wife Erica standing in the doorway, a gentle smile on her face. "Hey," she said, walking over to him and kissing him on the cheek. "How are the kids?" "They're wonderful," Maximus said, as Erica sat next to him. "I can't believe how much they've grown in just 1 year." As they sat there, watching their children play, he felt the gentle kick of his unborn child in Erica's belly. He knew that their family was only going to get bigger and stronger. He felt that his seed became stronger, requiring only a few months to produce another child. Regardless, he couldn't wait to meet their newest addition and watch them grow, just like Lily and Liam. Chapter 5: Invitation from the Capital. Maximus sat in his study, going over the day's reports from his advisors when a messenger knocked in, holding out an envelope. "My lord," the young man said, bowing low. "An invitation from the imperial capital," he said as he handed the letter. Maximus raised an eyebrow, taking the envelope and breaking the wax seal. He scanned the contents, his eyes widening in surprise. "An evening of entertainment," he muttered to himself as he read the letter, realizing that it was a banquet. "It seems the banquet is a little late this year," he muttered to himself. As always, the king will be inviting all the nobles and famous people to celebrate and hold a meeting for those who have meritorious deeds. Maximus found the situation intriguing as he considered the possibilities. It could be an opportunity for him to step out and experience something new, even though he had already been to the imperial capital before in his memories. Additionally, attending the banquet could potentially benefit his territory, which was still in need of more inflow of people and money as it was not widely known. Furthermore, he needed to add more concubines to his harem. However, he was also hesitant to go due to the risks involved. Leaving his wives and their children, Liam and Lily, behind for several weeks was a difficult decision to make. Moreover, as a weak mage, he knew that danger could be lurking around any corner, and he could be killed without much effort. He set the invitation down on his desk and stood, walking over to the window and looking out over the city when he heard a soft knock on the door. "Come in," he called out, looking up to see his wives, Erica and Hazel, standing in front of him. "Maximus, we heard about the banquet," Erica said, stepping forward. "We want to come with you." "I'm afraid I can't take both of you to the banquet," Maximus said, his tone gentle yet firm. "This gathering is particularly risky. I heard that the imperial capital is quite tense right now due to the advanced age of His Majesty. I don't want to put you both in danger." "I understand," Hazel nodded in agreement. "But please be careful, Maximus. We'll be waiting for your safe return," Erica said as her face fell slightly. "Well, I promise. And I'll make it up to you both when I return," Maximus gave Erica a reassuring smile. "Thank you for understanding, Hazel. I'll be back as soon as I can," he said, placing a hand on her shoulder. He spent the next few days preparing for the journey to the imperial capital, making sure everything was in order before he left. He also bought magic items for protection in case of emergency. Ring of Reflection, Tier 1, a ring imbued with runes that can reflect magical attacks of Tier 1 to 2 back at their source, providing powerful defense against spellcasters. Price 10. Amulet of Elemental Resistance, Tier 1, an amulet that provides resistance to all types of elemental damage, including fire, ice, lightning, and acid. Price 20. Boots of Swiftness, Tier 1, boots that grant the wearer incredible speed and agility, making it easier to evade attacks or rush into battle. Price 15. Arcane Rifle, Tier 1, a rifle that shoots powerful beams of magical energy, capable of piercing through armor and dealing heavy damage. Price 30. Cloak of Healing, Tier 1, this enchanted cloak can heal the wearer's wounds and injuries, allowing them to recover quickly during battles. Price 30. On the day of his departure, he stood outside his castle gates, ready to leave. Erica and Hazel stood beside him, bidding him farewell. "Take care of yourselves while I'm away," Maximus said, looking at his wives. "We will," Erica replied, reaching up to give him a quick kiss on the cheek. "Safe travels." Hazel gave him a hug. "I'll be back soon." Maximus reclined in the plush seat of the carriage. He had specifically bought this carriage for this journey. The Celestial Chariot, Tier 2. The Celestial Chariot is a magnificent carriage crafted from shining silver and glowing sapphires. It is drawn by 4 winged horses with shimmering feathers that glisten in the sunlight. The carriage is enchanted to provide a smooth ride even over rough terrain, and it can travel at incredible speeds, making it perfect for long journeys. Additionally, the Celestial Chariot is also capable of flight when imbued with magic crystals, soaring through the skies with ease. It is said that it is the replica of the carriage made for gods themselves, providing its passengers with divine majesty while riding to their destination. Price 10,000. He was on a tight budget and could only afford the basic version of that chariot, which cost 500 gold points. The chariot is enchanted to provide a smooth ride, making it comfortable for long journeys. It also offers some degree of protection, but not as much as a more expensive chariot would. Moreover, it doesn't have any additional features such as flight or the 4-winged shimmering horses. Despite its reduced version, he still bought it as a reliable means of transportation. While traveling, Maximus had heard rumors about even more extravagant carriages in the Arcanum continent, which were adorned with intricate magical runes. However, it's limited in supply that it hardly gets to this place. Even though he had access to the rune system study at the system mall, the price was expensive. Besides, as a Tier 1 mage, he lacked sufficient mana to use any rune magic at the moment. The journey to the imperial capital had been long and tiring. As they traveled through the dense forest, they suddenly heard a loud noise coming from the trees ahead. The guard captain, Edwin, signaled for the carriage to stop, and the guards quickly formed a defensive formation around the vehicle. Maximus peered out the window and saw a large group of goblins emerging from the forest. There were over 100 of them, armed with crude weapons and snarling fiercely. Maximus was well aware of the gravity of the situation. The odds were against them as the guards were outnumbered, and goblins were notorious for their fierce fighting skills. As soon as he spotted the enemy, he instinctively reached for his arcane rifle. He had only recently been promoted to an official mage. His limited mana supply made him vulnerable against a large number of foes. Fortunately, the arcane rifle was the type of wand that required minimal magic, making it a reliable weapon in such situations. However, the cost of the rifle's bullets was exorbitant, requiring him to budget carefully. He had only purchased 5 different types of bullets to maximize his combat potential. Frost Bullet, this bullet is imbued with icy magic, causing it to freeze whatever it hits. 10 PCS. Price 1. Flame Bullet, this bullet is infused with fire magic, causing it to burst into flames upon impact. 10 PCS. Price 1. Gravity Bullet, this bullet creates a small gravitational field upon impact, causing objects to be pulled towards it. 10 PCS. Price 2. Healing Bullet, this bullet has the power to heal wounds and injuries upon impact. 10 PCS. Price 3. Arcane Bullet, this bullet is infused with arcane magic, allowing it to penetrate magical barriers and defenses. 10 PCS. Price 5. As the goblins charged towards them, Maximus, using Flame Bullet, calmly aimed and fired. The rifle was loud and the recoil was strong, but he was able to take down several goblins with each shot. With each shot, he grew more confident and accurate. His guards followed suit, launching arrows and swinging their swords to fend off the goblin horde. As the battle wore on, Maximus noticed a pattern in the goblins' attacks. They were coordinated, but their movements were erratic. He quickly realized that they were being led by a weird goblin who was barking orders to the others. Just as the goblins were about to overwhelm them, Maximus changed to arcane bullet and fired a shot that hit the weird goblin in the group. It fell to the ground with a thud, with the other goblins that seemed to lose their resolve. They began to retreat into the forest, their howls of frustration echoing through the trees. As Maximus lowered his gun, a wave of relief washed over him. The captain of the guard, Edwin, walked towards him, visibly impressed. "Lord, that was incredible," he exclaimed. "I've never seen a weapon like that. Is it a magic weapon?" The captain eyed the firearm with a tinge of envy. Maximus let out a weak smile. "Yes, it's a Tier 1 magic weapon that was left to me by my father. He said it was made in Arcanum continent. He secretly thought, actually I purchased it from the system."